Hi there, and welcome to today's episode where we are joined by Gemma Brown, who is a coach. She's helping individuals to thrive by elevating their authenticity, purpose, and direction. She is specializing in helping people to find their freedom and thrive and embrace changes. And we talk a lot about changes and, slow change and gradual change and how we can build the words making meaningful changes in our lives. But we also talk about one of Gemma's favorite tools in her coaching toolkit and one of our favorite tools, and that is journaling. And we go in different types of journaling and we talk about the variety and preferences and we share a little bit of our experiences. So this is a wonderful, gentle conversation talking about change and journaling and life in general. So yeah, I'm excited for you to hear it. So let's grab a cuppa and go for it.
As normal, before we start this conversation, here's your reminder: hit that subscribe button, share the video, and like, because we do want to reach as many people as we can. We have some amazing guests, and it's free. It won't cost you a penny, a cent, a dime, or anything. So do hit subscribe, share, and like. But now, let's get on to this wonderful, informative conversation.
Hi, Gemma. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here.
I'm so excited to finally have a proper conversation with you because I know you a little, I know of you. I watch obviously your social media, I've been part of some of your challenges, but we haven't had this kind of a one-on-one conversation to really get to know each other better. So I'm so excited to see where today's conversation gonna take us. So for Natalie and for our listeners, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Who you are, what you do, maybe what inspired you to go on this path of your career?
Yeah, would love to. So I am a coach based in Cambridge, and I work with people personally and professionally who are often transitioning. So I support them transitioning confidently and authentically, and help them to get closer to the life that they want to live, to feel more content, more free, and it's been a it's been a little journey, yes, how I got here. So I haven't always been a coach. I worked in tourism sector for a lot of my career in acquisition management, and I got to the place in my life where I was feeling like I was going through the motions a bit. And, I had a lovely job. I was living in Cornwall at the time. And so on paper, I think, as we say, on paper, everything looked good. Everything, I ticked lots of boxes. But I was lacking. So I just had this sense that I was not feeling fulfilled, or I don't know if I was bored, but I started having my own coaching around that time. A friend mentioned, asked if I'd tried coaching, and I didn't really know what it was, to be honest. But I was so stuck in going round circles of, I think I should do something else, but I don't know what to do. And the fear got me. So I stayed stuck for a very long time. And through having my own coaching, it was absolutely life changing. Enabled me just to build self-awareness, get to know who I was and actually what would make me happy at that point. And I gradually started then making small changes, and ended up moving again and retraining as a coach. And that was about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, nearly. So that's how it all started. And it's something I call like an accidental career. Lots of people talk about that. It wasn't a plan. I didn't retrain to necessarily set up a business and start a practice of coaching, but it just sort of happened. So that's how I came to be here.
So interesting that I now kind of have a little better understanding of the conversations we had before and your questions before we started recording.
Mhm.
Because I know you, obviously, I know you're a coach, but my main connection with you is you run a January journaling challenge. So for
Mhm.
me, the context for you often is very much aligned with, obviously, I know you're a coach, but coaching is such a broad topic and so many different areas you can focus on. And I always connected you mostly with kind of the tool of journaling. But I'm so
Yeah.
curious then of you mentioning the change, because that's something that myself and Natalie are very familiar with, is embracing change and taking steps to make this change. So I'm curious to know a little bit from maybe your journey of working with clients of what is it that ticks people off to make the change? Like what it is that is the final drop? Is it like a big aha moment for people, or from your experience working with clients, or is it more of a gentle process of gradual adjustments that actually you don't realize how much you're changing until with hindsight you realize, oh, wow, how much has changed in 6 months, a year.
Yes. Well, just picking up on your point there about journaling, it's something I am super, super passionate about. Maybe we'll come on to that in a little bit. Change, it's such a big topic because I think there's different types of change as well. There's that quiet kind of internal change. Like we're always changing, aren't we? And that can be something that we don't realize how much we've changed until we look back in hindsight, or how we develop as people, how we shift and change over time based on our life experience, or situationally how that impacts us. And I think that feels very quiet and in the background. And which is also why journaling is fantastic, because it's a reflection tool that can help you build that self-awareness. I think it's one of the greatest tools for building self-awareness and thinking, oh, what have I learned from that situation, or how have I grown? People, I work with a lot of people who come to coaching because they have this sense they want to make a change. They maybe are unhappy in their job, or like we were talking before we started recording, like something not feeling quite right in their life. And so they want something different. And I also think those are quite slow changes that people make as well, because it starts with just like a glimmer or an idea, or even just a sense, like a felt sense that I want something different, I want to do something else. But then life gets busy, we kind of get back on the treadmill, we go back to our routines, and nothing changes. And you put that idea maybe back in a box and do nothing about it. But then it keeps coming up, or you keep feeling this sense grows maybe. And I think there's a lot of fear around making change, and all the what ifs and our negativity bias and all of that comes into play. So I guess what coaching can help with is just try to remove some of those barriers, and shift some of those obstacles, but also help people start to take the small steps. And that's exactly what I did with my coach. I had this fear that, well, I'm not happy, but I should be, but I don't know where to start, even if I wanted to make a change. And actually, it's just so helpful to break it down. So I think, I don't know, I'm not answering your question, but I think lots of change is very slow and very quiet. I don't often hear people say, oh yeah, I had an idea and then I just did it. Just like went for it straight away overnight. It's often something that has been creeping up on them for a long, long time.
Well, we are creatures of habit, obviously for us. Often we know that the even the familiar evil or the familiar discomfort is still feels safer than the unknown. So we are by design as human beings, we tend to be a little bit. Obviously, the scale of it, people will be a bit more prone to change and open to change. There will be people who are a lot more resistant to change. But I do think that it is part of our nature is we like the comfort and safety of
Mm.
knowing. And then whenever we start thinking about something else, we do tend to, catastrophize and start thinking, oh, it can go horribly wrong and not for me. And I do think I always remember one of my first kind of moments of realizing kind of change or directions. It was back at uni, and my parents were very much the people who do not like change, very traditional, very simple, never had big dreams, just a simple path and, slow and steady and don't stand out from the crowd and don't make noise and just keep your head down and keep going. So I never, before I started university, was exposed to any wild ideas or adventurous ideas. But at university, lots of the kids started going to Erasmus student exchange programs. There was a
Mhm.
girl going to Chile for 6 months, not speaking any English or not speaking any Spanish, and just going just because, like, why not? And I'm like, you can't even boil a tea, and you're going. And she came back and she was so happy and speaking Spanish and speaking English. And I was like, if you can make it, I'm pretty capable person already back then. I can make it. So that was for me also like observing other people. There is a little bit of the both jealousy and inspiration from others that often nudge us to be like, okay, if you can do it, then I should be able to do it too.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you said there about, upbringing, and I think that impacts, well, everything, doesn't it? But it also impacts our relationship to risk or making change. If we've grown up with where there hasn't been much change and it's all been very settled and calm, and it can be harder then to make that change for ourselves. And I think I had that definitely, sort of when I was younger. I decided to go to Australia for uh, a long time. Well, it was about 14 months at the time. And it was quite scary for my family and friends around me. Well, maybe not scary, but it was just unexpected, I think, because sort of thing hadn't really happened in my family. And, but again, I felt this draw, this sense to want to go to something bigger and get away and have adventures. And it was scary and it felt like it was out of character for myself. But I also had this, it was like a bigger pull of actually I want something different in life and I want to take this risk and I'm a capable human being and I have resources and I have tools and things that and other people do it. Like you say, you get the inspiration from others, but sometimes that can help with our perspective. Is like actually who else is doing this? What can I learn from them? I also think it's really helpful just to reflect back on your own experience as well, because there will have been lots of times when you've made change or when I've made change unexpectedly or through choice. And I think we can forget about that as well when it comes to making the next step. I think we can learn a lot from um, looking back at our own evidence of making change and how we coped with that before.
And I also think that, we all have different levels of innate resilience or built resilience. And again, the experiences that we've had in life that don't necessarily be change related, but overall, what we've been through life and how we've handled it and what we've learned from it, that then builds our resilience. And if we feel that we have good reserve and we feel resilient, that then it becomes safer for us to embrace change and consciously choose bigger steps and bigger leaps and push ourselves. And I also think that, it comes down, and I often say on this podcast that I do cold dips, I do cold water exposure because it's a very controlled and now a familiar way of reminding myself that I can do difficult things. So that
Mhm.
is then like we can transfer the experience of like, well, I know I can do something that for lots of people it's really out there. And lots of people like, I would not be able to do that. To then, well, if I can handle that, I can handle driving a van in, UK on the wrong side of the road, or I can, handle saying no to a client if I really don't feel like this is, the work that I want. So I do think that there is something about resilience that plays a big role in and us consciously building resilience and having good resilience reserves that then makes us more kind of at ease or more capable of again
Mm.
handling the change.
Mm. Yeah, and often some of our greatest challenges or hardest moments become, things that we're most proud of as well, because we have grown, because we've overcome that thing, and that helps to build our resilience as well. Y- when you ask people to, not all the time, but when if you ask people to reflect on their greatest successes, or quite often there will be some element of challenge in there, or some big obstacle, like, oh, yeah, I came back from redundancy, and I've, that at the time that would have been really hard. And but on reflection, again, kind of maybe going back to the journaling thing, it's when we notice that about ourselves and we recognize that, it's become a success. It's become something that we're proud of, the strength that we had to get through that, or the way that we managed something, or the way that we navigated it. And because so much we operate on subconscious so much of the time, we don't always recognize that about ourselves. But and I think recognizing those moments, again, like you said, helps build resilience. Otherwise, we're just going around and not paying attention, and we don't have the awareness of what we actually are capable of. It's why, I guess in sort of positive psychology, they talk about, how valuable just a small practice of recognizing what three things have gone well today and what was your role in them, and just how impactful just that tiny little practice can be to build your confidence, to build your resilience, to kind of shift that negativity bias. Uh, but we have to kind of do the reflection back in order to get that benefit.
And I think we are naturally heading towards let's talk about journaling. I think we're kind of stepping around it to be like, okay, let's talk about what role possibly journaling can have in this, situation, be it change,
Mm,
embracing change, building resilience, getting clarity, obviously your experience with coaching and using journaling with your clients as a
mm.
tool to help them whatever it is that you want to accomplish. So yeah, I would love to dive into, how did you maybe discover journaling? What was your first experience with it? And obviously then whatever else comes in mind that we want to talk about this topic.
Mm. And I would love to understand from you as well, like how did you find the journaling challenge and what drew you to that in the first place? And so I don't know if you want to just share
Yeah,
some insights.
I can jump in. So this is not, I think it's second or third year that I've been part of the journaling challenge. I'm not the best at sticking to it every single day. And I think I had to learn to be okay with that. It was like any day that I do is good. And I sometimes come to the journaling challenge like months. I have it in my phone. I have like the 30-day. I have it and I'm like, oh, I feel stuck. Like I want to journal, but I don't really like the words are not flowing. And I just open it and I pick a word. So like a prompt in there. So it's a wonderful way to have to start the year, to have the community, to have some prompts, but also yes, giving myself the permission of I don't have to do day one on day one and day two on day two and do it in a row. And I can always go back and I can do the same prompt few times, or I can skip a prompt. But it's great to have these prompts and have the community during the time. And obviously, some of the connections then end up staying for longer. You see people on social media, so you can also have just these reminders of the community. And I think it's a good balance of yeah, the prompts and the inspiration that you share and the insights, even just reading the, the bit more of the story, a bit more of the thinking, a bit more of the meat of the prompt. Sometimes I don't journal, but then it just sits in my mind for the rest of the day to be
Mm.
like, you just think about these things and reflect quietly. And I think that works as well.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's just, oh, it just makes me so happy. Um, well, journaling. Well, I wouldn't have called it journaling when I first started. I wrote a diary like all my childhood. Um, it was like a dear diary, just a record of, I mean, gosh, it's so embarrassing to read some of that back, but the the childhood worries or what I've done at school that day. I used to get like a little diary for Christmas every year, and so I guess that's where it started. I don't know why it started. I probably just got given a journal for Christmas, and I carried that on, yeah, all my life, I guess. And but it wasn't really. So when I trained as a coach, you have to write a reflective practice as part of your training, and so you're capturing not only what you've done, but like your observations of what's happened and the learning that you're going to take from that coaching situation and apply or change for next time. And so that was really helpful at understanding how journaling in that way is a tool for self-awareness and growth. Because probably up till that point, it had been just more of a record of what I'd done that day. It was a bit like Bridget Jones, like, what's the date? What's the weather? What have I eaten that day? Um, so that was one thing, the reflective journaling and learning some reflection models to use to support with that, which are the form of prompts. And then it was really COVID and going into lockdown where, like everybody, I was anxious, worried, scared, and hugely overwhelmed. And I turned to some wild writing technique. So rather than having prompts, I would just set my timer each morning because I didn't have anything else to do. And I would just freestyle out whatever was on my mind that day. And I only used to do it for 5 minutes. It's all it takes. It doesn't take long to have an impact. And I just found it so helpful at feeling much more calmer, feeling a bit of clarity of thought, and even sort of end up self-coaching yourself when when you see words on the page and in your head these words and these thoughts and feelings can feel huge and really heavy and terrifying. And sometimes when you then get them on the page, you can look at them for what they are and you can start to rationalize or challenge them or even problem solve yourself. Um, and so it was through that COVID bit where I started then offering a journaling workshop once, well, it started, I think, once a week, just a free space to build that community. Like I was experiencing so much support from this free tool. I was just desperate to share it with everybody and anybody who wanted to. So I was hosting weekly workshops, and then that's now turned into just a free, regular monthly workshop for people to come along, write as a community, and have access to different prompts and inspiration each month. Um, and so there's so many benefits. I use I use freestyle writing, that wild writing for many things, but usually firstly start my day with that bit of an offload, find some clarity. Oh, it just clears the mind. I don't know, have you come across Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way? Have you ever? Yeah. So she writes about the morning pages as part of that, which is very similar to what I'm talking about with wild writing. It's just a blank page, stream of consciousness. I think she suggests you write for 3 sides every morning, which is bonkers to me. That's so much to write every day. But she's right though. It's about clearing the clutter, the mental clutter, putting that somewhere. So then you are more free and able to problem solve, to create, to focus on whatever it is that you need to focus on that day. So I find that technique hugely beneficial. Or if I'm feeling overwhelmed, just get it all out, clear the clutter. But then I use other techniques and journaling prompts and gratitude journaling as well for different times when you need different things. And like you said, it's not about being perfect. It's about doing what you need to do in that moment. And that might not be journaling every day. And that's absolutely brilliant as well. That is still journaling, having a journaling practice.
I do love the morning pages. I love
Mm,
them. They've been such a great help, and they've really, I find that works for me personally. Um, but I've tried the prompts, but I do prefer the brain dumps. I think in the
mm,
morning, just the brain dump comes out, and I seem to find wisdom within the brain dump, which
yeah.
is quite surprising sometimes. But the thing is, I have tried the prompts, and I've I don't know what it is. There seems to be some sort of a block. But if I can just write, so if I'm feeling angry or overwhelmed or upset or something, I just go, and I always do the 3 pages. I like the 3 pages because
Mm,
it gives you a goal so that you're not feeling like you've got to just write forever. But I find 1 page is not enough. So three
yeah.
pages seems to work really well. So I then do you call it the freestyle or the wild
Mm,
writing, but I always think, of the morning pages is the brain dump.
mm,
It's 3 pages seems to really work, and A4 pages. I know she recommends A4 pages, not sort of small or bigger, but that I find has been so helpful. And I've noticed that I've been out of my routine and not been committing to it. I did that for years, and now that I'm out
mm,
of my routine, and I definitely notice a difference if I'm
mm,
not able to do the brain dump in the morning. And I've tried in the evenings, I've done afternoons, I've done all various times of the days, but I find the mornings is the best ones. And I come across a lot of people who actually prefer the evenings to do it, to sort of reflect on the day and everything else. Lenka's an
yeah.
evening one.
I
And
love it
yeah, it just
because,
doesn't work for me.
yeah, but this is what I love about journaling is that it's different things for different people. And this is what I really try to kind of remove these myths that it has to be a certain thing at a certain time or in a certain way. It really doesn't. And it's about finding what works for you. And that might look different at different stages of life or days of the week as well. But I really like what you said about having the 3 pages. It's that goal. It's like, right, I know what I'm going to get done today. And I think that's what I found with the just having a timer for 5 minutes. Because when it's open-ended, it can sometimes feel too overwhelming or too much to commit to. So just kind of putting your own little boundary in place can really help.
Yeah, as you were talking about the morning pages,
Mm.
I've tried. And I have a very small handwriting. So for me, one page feels like 3 pages. Like after one page of writing, like my hand is so cramped and so painful. So I'm like, and I do have a tend to have a notebooks with like dotted lines. And so when you open it, it's just like such a wall of text. I have such a small little handwriting. So for me, 3 pages don't work because it's like I cannot. Like I would spend half a day trying to write 3 pages. It's just so much writing. So I'm a bit of a rebel, so I think it's part of it. It's again finding, as you said, what works for you and allowing. And I think big part is to giving yourself the permission to do it your way, but still showing up. And the same for me, mornings don't work because the moment I wake up, my cat wants to go for a walk. I can't wake up and then do something for myself. I have to figure out as quickly as I can to get out of the van and take my kitty for a walk. And then usually the day kicks in and I have client calls, I have meetings, I have stuff. So then for me, the evening is the time when like, the cat is asleep, it's chilling, I have candlelight. I'm like, okay, I can reflect on the day and plan what's happening ahead.
And that's just perfect because I think something that I often hear people say is that, oh, they don't have the time or they don't know how to do it, or they're worried, or like they have to do it every day and it has to be at the same time. And this is just all rubbish. It's just, um, I think maybe there's an idea that it has to be a certain way or it has to look a certain thing. But I can't even read half my writing, like when I've written stuff, and it doesn't matter. It's like sometimes it is a bulleted list, or sometimes it is just random words or feelings or sensations, or even like, I don't know what to write today. Is I write that a lot, but it's amazing, like you said, Natalie, how you discover stuff in that brain dump that you didn't really even know was there, or you find a solution, or you put pieces of the puzzle together. And so I think we like the removal of these myths or these barriers is really important so that we just show up, because you never know what is going to come out. And that is so amazing. It just amazes me sometimes what's actually on your mind, and you don't know. You've just been carrying it around with you. Um, so yeah, big fan there. I've never managed to. I did try the morning pages when I read The Artist's Way. I really struggled to stick to it. I don't know why. Maybe it's just too much, too many words.
Well, one thing that I really enjoy is for years put me off journaling, because you see these really beautiful books and they got beautiful covers. Some are blank pages, some are lines, some are just the dots, and they are so beautiful. And my handwriting looks like a dog's breakfast, and it didn't feel right to write in them. And when I started on sort of my journey, and I was, journaling as this all powerful thing, and it's, have the journal and everything else, and I just like, no, I'm not desecrating these beautiful books. And then when I read The Artist Way and I came across Morning Pages, and she just says, just write 3 pages and that's it. You just chuck them away if you want to.
Mm,
Just take
mm.
a good old notebook and just get on it. These examination pads, just write with that. And I was like, oh, thank God I can just write on anything. I don't have to do it in any of these beautiful journals and these beautiful books that are there. And I managed to find like a load of lined paper that's just lined paper, is not even glued, it's not even in folders. And since I've read that, it's almost gave me permission, just any old piece of paper, as long as it's A4 size, as long as it's 3 sides. And I thought, I can handle that. And I do look at these and I think, okay, I've been journaling this for this time. Maybe it's time I sort of upgrade to a nice proper journal. And I look at them and I'm thinking, no, that ain't gonna happen. I'm not gonna write in it. I'm not gonna be honest, because I'm gonna try to write neatly. I'm gonna try to keep something, to write something that's worth keeping, so to speak. Whereas when I'm brain dumping and I am writing and I see something that's like an idea that I haven't thought of, or something that's worth keeping, I transfer that, just that information to a more worthwhile book and just get rid of the pages. So it is journaling, I think, is very personal, sort of when you do it, on what you do it, whether it's on scrap pieces of paper, or really beautiful journaling books with fountain pen, go for it. But for me personally, I needed the permission to have scruffy handwriting on just any old A4 paper, and then you just throw it away. It's a brain dump. That's what it is. But take out the valuable bits, take out the ideas, take out something, and then transfer those to a better book. So yeah, I just loved Morning Pages, but I get that it's not for everyone. It's like Lenka says, she likes to do it in the evenings. I'm like, no, you're not going to get me to sit and do anything on an evening. So it's so personal. It's like anything. It's what suits you, is finding your time and the way to do it. And some people do love the fountain pen and those gorgeous journal books and they find value in that, and it's great. I'm happy for you, and that's what works for you. So, and I think when I've gone through the journey and been around long enough, I've realized there's no rule for journaling. The only rule is basically write something.
Yeah.
You don't even have to spell it correctly. You don't even have to have grammar. It doesn't have to be legible. It's just for you. And I think once I realized that and really realized that, it's like, oh, okay, I can do it
Mm,
my way. It's cool. It's
mm,
not that it's wrong, it's just different. And I think that took a while for me to really get it into my head, because I had this idea I could do it wrong because I didn't want to do it the way that, I don't know, at the time I thought I should do it. So it's lovely to have this conversation, because I think there's so many people who want to journal, but they're just finding something stopping them and in their
mm.
way. So if they need scruffy paper and just a rubbish pen and just, illegible writing, go for it, because I think it's that you write. You just write. It's not about how you do it, it's that you do it. And that's so important.
Oh, yeah, you're speaking my language, Natalie. It's why I just love sharing it so much, because I think this idea is perfection. Like it has to be this perfect thing, or it has to look all set up with, Instagrammable. You've got your candle and you've got your perfect latte or something there in the picture as well. And I think that visual stops people doing it as well. It's because I don't have complete silence, or I don't have an hour long to sit there and, write this lovely script. And it I find that really unhelpful, because it's stopping people accessing what we know is so truly beneficial, like mentally, physically, clarity. And what you said there about when you finally gave yourself permission that it doesn't need to be perfect and did it your way, it's like, isn't that a metaphor for life? Like really, like when we realize that it's about us finding our own way, it's like a weight lifts, and we can then access so much more. I'm interested. So you said that you look out for themes or words and you then transfer. It's like you've got a hierarchy of journals. Um, Len, do you read yours back? Because some people always ask me, so should I read it back or shouldn't I? And again, my answer is it's up to you. It's like what works for you. I think sometimes reading back can be useful to see patterns and themes, perhaps. I really rarely ever read my journaling back at all.
No. Same. I never read it back. I can't. Because my handwriting is so small, so fast, so messy that even if I try, occasionally, because obviously I'm a marketer, I'm a content creator, and there is an idea that I want to turn into something, and I kind of highlight a frame, like a phrase or idea that I want to go back to, or I've out of nowhere a beautiful piece of writing. I'm like, oh, this is a LinkedIn post, this is an Instagram caption, that I occasionally go back and grab a piece that I've already mentally kind of filed away of like, this is a great piece of content. But this is the only time I would ever go back if I realize that, some of that came out was something that I want to then use in other circumstances. Other than that, I just kind of file away a little bit mentally. If there was an interesting aha moment, that then I usually bring up to my conversation with my friend. I have one friend where we tend to do lots of deep chats, and some of my journaling then reflects onto those conversations, and then those conversations lead into my journaling. So there's the little reflection loop. But I even if I try, I can't read and I don't want to read.
Mm. Yeah, and sometimes it is that, isn't it? Like I don't want to go over that or revisit that. And I think that is also something that maybe gets in people's way around the fear of what they might write, or the fear of what might come up for them. But actually, journaling is quite a safe place to do that with, because it's so personal. This is only for you. Um, so it can be like, yeah, a really safe place to explore things.
But I also think that, journaling can look in different ways. And we're talking about very the typical definition of journaling of sitting down with pen and paper and writing into a notebook or on pages. But sometimes, when I'm out and about and I'm hiking and I'm walking, I don't have a journal with me, or I have it, but I don't want to sit down. So it's, we have wonderful devices in our pockets that have voice recorders. And again, I rarely listen back to my own voice recordings, but sometimes I feel like, there's something on my mind that I want to journal, I want to write down, I want to capture, I want to brain down. So I will pull out my phone, I will record the audio, and occasionally, again, AI these days can create a transcript. So if I need it, there is a transcript and I can kind of work with it. But usually it just exists there in my files. But again, it helps then capture. And there is something about the capturing that we can kind of think about these things and we can have them floating in our head. But without the act of, and I do love the physical of like the ink coming over the paper and making it permanent, or it can be the digital of like typing it down or recording it. There's something about the fact that it's captured and it genuinely we can like take it away. I just remember always the Harry Potter scene when Broombound, like the teaching him of like how do you take the thoughts out of your brain and kind of put them safely somewhere. So for me, that is journaling doing. Often it's just like removing the memory, the thought, the idea from the brain and be like, it exists somewhere safely if I ever need it. I know it's there, but usually I'm just like forgetting about that.
Yeah, I love that. I personally haven't got hugely into the like the voice note recording, but I know that works really well for some people. Especially, yeah, if they have trouble writing or they don't really like the handwriting or they're really worried about that. And or are much more external processes. So, like you say, if both the voice noting and the writing, these are tools to distance ourselves from our thoughts. So, especially if you're getting stuck in a loop of negative spiraling or just kind of going over and over the same things, writing it down, speaking it out loud, these are ways of sort of breaking the chain in a way. And and I think there's something, if you do listen to it back, there's something really powerful about hearing your own voice speak those words. And then that becomes a bit like as if you were talking to somebody else, in a way. So you could then maybe more easily access, I don't know, trying to create a different response with yourself, if that doesn't sound too strange, like you're talking to yourself. But these are distancing tools that, and this is how I guess in terms of bringing it into coaching, sometimes I introduce journaling as a practice for many reasons, but one of them could be to help kind of distance yourself from self negative self-talk, or to find clarity, or to even like the gratitude journaling, or thinking about what went well today can help people sort of changing their mindset. So it's definitely something I use lots with clients.
I know we've talked a lot about freehand or wild writing and not using prompts and daily pages, but I know that some people do like to have prompts. So can you share a couple of sort of good or basic prompts to start with? Because, if you Google prompts, you get so many, you get inundated with prompts, and then it can almost like, oh, what do I choose? So do you have sort of like a top 3 or top 5 prompts that you have found beneficial for yourself, for your clients? Just some prompts to help those who maybe want to start journaling, but just the idea of a brain dump or freehand or wild writing is like, oh no, I need some sort of structure. So do you have any sort of, well, I'm sure you do, but can you share
Mhm.
some of your sort of top 3 or 5 prompts that you found work really well?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say it depends what the person's looking for. So when ChatGPT and things like that are great for prompts now, and Um, if you're looking, you might be looking for prompts around a set theme, I guess. So that could be useful. So if it's, oh, I'm feeling really anxious, what are some prompts to help me feel less anxious, that you might find when, or what, I'm feeling very overwhelmed. What are some prompts to help me feel less overwhelmed? Or so you could sort of think about what is it that I need from journaling to help steer the prompts. I really like things like what's gone well today and what was my role in that. I think having that positive steer is really helpful. What am I grateful for? So these are ones all from positive psychology. What strengths have I used today? What's been the highlight of my day? It's starting to really focus on the good. I think, especially if you are worried about what might come up, or if it, maybe you don't want to reflect on a negative situation, using those kind of prompts, what went well, what am I grateful for, what was the highlight of my day, um, what would my ideal day look like? I think these are really nice ones to get started with. They're gentle, they're positively steered, and they will evoke positive thoughts and emotions. And I think that those can be really nice ones to get started with. What's your favorite prompt, Natalie? What prompt would you like? I
I
know you
don't
said
like
you don't
prompts.
really
That's the
like prompts.
problem. That's how I know that they get really overwhelming because I've
Mm,
tried prompts. I mean, sometimes what I will do is if I'm brain dumping, I might just say, ask myself, what do I need right now? But
mm,
these are just for me to try and find myself, but they're not, I don't use them as a prompt. It's more just trying to get something clearer in my head or something. But I have looked at prompts, and I think that's what made me realize that I just find them like, I don't know, too constrictive in a way. And then when I have picked one and then I'm sitting there going, it's like, okay, no, to put that aside and just freehand it, I get much more from it. So that's why I was asking, because I did find them so I don't know, too much for me. But I think your ones that you had, they're really positive, and I think that it's really good. They're nice and generic, but they can leave you feeling better because they like you said, they're so much more positive, and it's a way to get to know yourself a bit better. So those
yeah,
ones would be nice, and those ones I might do if I did journaling in the evening,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. Well,
But
also that journaling in the evening, the gratitude one can be really just to have one. What have I been grateful for today? That can just be a really nice way to sort of close down the day. Um, I When I do the monthly workshops, there's a different theme each month, and so the prompts will always be focused around that theme. But sometimes I don't use written prompts. I might share an image or or read a poem or a piece of writing that I've felt particularly drawn to. And that in itself acts as a prompt. And that's really interesting to see how people can all be seeing the same image, but they've been reminded of a childhood memory, or a person in their family, or a dream that they had, or yeah, it's just really lovely to see how different people interpret the same picture in different ways.
And I think, what we're talking about is different types of journal or different reasons, purposes. A lot of what we talked about feels like it's the brain dump setup of the day, the kind of clear your head. That's where I do feel that more of the morning pages free writing feels appropriate. You just let go and whatever comes and needs to be captured is captured. But for me, prompts help if there is a specific question, specific challenge, specific problem, specific solution I'm looking for. specific growth I'm looking to accomplish, that there I think the prompts helped, and having a list of prompts to choose from, or being given again on a daily, weekly, monthly basis a prompt to explore, that it's more of a, I would say, like strategic session where I'm coming into this writing moment. It doesn't even have to be a labeled journal. It could be writing, free writing, creative writing, into this writing moment with the intention of, I want to, I don't know, work on my body image. I want to work on my relationships. I want to work on my creative writing. I want to write a book. I'm stuck in my business. Basically, all sorts of problems and challenges. And coming into that with a free page, that could be scary. But coming into it with a prompt or a little bit of a template or a little bit of a list of guidances, that then helps problem solve it. So I think it's a different goals and different purposes.
Yeah, and that can be like so if you want to, wanting help structuring your day or your week, to have some people have 3 or 4 bullet journal points that they just use every day. So, what are my top 3 priorities today? What's the one thing I need to do for myself today? What will my future self thank me for? And you just repeat these every day to help you with your productivity, or to help you, really focus on your priorities for that day. And so, like you say, it depends on the challenge that you're facing, but there can be a set of journaling prompts for everything. I'm doing a session next week for a business which is about using journaling to unlock your creativity. So when you're facing a creativity block, how can you use journaling? And that might be a combination of the wild writing to clear the way or to identify what the block is. And then that might be some random journaling prompts to help you come up with ideas which are more aspirational and out there, which should just help you tap into creativity. So yeah, I do. Again, it comes back to, what's the question you personally have that you want your journaling to answer for you?
I mean, journaling is such a massive topic because there's no, as I've learned, no right and wrong way. It's all just doing it. And it's whether you're using prompts or not prompts, or freehand, or nice journal books, or just a regular examination pad or notepad. So it's such a broad topic. And this is one thing that I really love about journaling, and it's something that I'm sure we can talk about for hours and hours and hours, but I do appreciate that time and everything else. So we have what we call a gold nugget corner, or our gold nuggets. So this is where we ask you, Gemma, may we please have your gold nuggets?
Oh, on the spot now. Well, as we've talked a lot about journaling, I think it has to be a journaling related one. And I think my belief is that journaling is the one of, if not the greatest tool for self-awareness and self-discovery. And it is free. And pretty much anyone can access it anywhere. And so that would be my invitation. If you have not tried journaling, please give it a go without any pressure, without any barriers that you put in your own way. Just put pen to paper, and just see where it takes you. Be curious, be open-minded, and just have a go, because I think there's so much complexity around well-being and what we should and shouldn't be doing and how it should look. And I just think journaling is still one of those free accessible tools that anybody can do at any time.
Oh, great. And this is why we love our gold nuggets. So you now have permission to just go and do it. Just do it. And you can do it in any way that feels right for you. Try random different ways and find what works for you. So thank you so much for encouraging, challenging our listeners, and giving everyone permission to just do it. Thank you so much for your gold nuggets. Now, for our listeners, they're listening to this and they're thinking, I want to know more about these journaling workshops that you do, these prompts that you do, what you're doing, or even about your coaching, where can people find you?
So my website is gemmabrowncoaching.co.uk, or probably Instagram is the easiest way to just get a flavour or to access lots of journaling prompts from months gone by. And that is just at Gemma Brown Coaching.
And obviously the links will be down below so people can click and find you there easily. Thank you so much for being here, Gemma. Absolutely loved this conversation, getting to know you better and really, exploring some of these topics that we have in common. But on this podcast, we always want a little bit more. We're always trying to squeeze in one last question for our guest. And given that the topic of the podcast is always exploring ways to live happier, healthier, more fulfilling lives, we're looking for ways to lean more into our lives. I'm curious to know, what gives you life right now?
Two things instantly come to mind because it's sunny outside here in Cambridge today, and it's the start of spring, and everything in nature is starting to bloom, and that is like a life force for me. I'd hate to be sort of dictated to by the weather, but I really am. I'm solar powered. So that is absolutely giving me life. And my dog, she is just constant joy and she gives me a reason to get outside all the time. So after this podcast, we will be going straight out for a walk in the gorgeous sunshine today.
Love a good dog giving us encouragement, and if anybody looks in the videos, they will see her appearing. So it's lovely. We have a dog appearing. Normally we have Linka's cat, so it's been really lovely to talk to you. And I get the spring in the UK is a beautiful time, especially
Mhm.
with all the buds happening and all the sunshine when it shines and the plants are coming. There is such a lovely energy. We're going into autumn here, so
Mm.
it
It
normally
looks
stays
lovely and
sort of like
bright, though. It still looks
it
lovely and
is
sunny. Yeah.
always sunny here. But thank you so much for sharing your time, sharing your wisdom with us today, and just helping our listeners to get over that barrier of journaling if they have, but just guiding, if they've got these questions, whether to do it, fancy or not fancy, and just sharing that journaling is really just a personal journey, and you can do it any way you want, whether it's pen and paper or a voice note or whatever. So thank you so much for the reminders, the encouragement, the permissions, and all the extras that you've given us. We really appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you so much for having. I've loved it. I can't believe how fast the time has gone today. But I get to talk about this same as you for ages. But yeah, it's been lovely to see you both.
And for our listeners, what have you got from today? Have you been journaling for years and you love it and you've got a lot of wisdom and guidance from it? Or is it journaling something you do on and off? Or is it something that you've been wanting to do, thinking about do it, but just haven't got over that barrier that's in your way? Or do you do the morning pages, or do you do in the evenings or prompts? We would love to hear your stories of your journaling experience, because it is so different and we love to get different perspectives. So share in the comments your journaling experience. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.